In this episode, we'll be looking at wireless HDMI transmission and the Mars 300 wireless HDMI transmitter and receiver. There's plenty of reviews of this, and I don't think I'm going to add a lot to these, so I'll link to two of these reviews, one from Bart Jonson and one from Judd, in the description below and in some info cards up here somewhere. I purchased a Nyrius wireless HDMI system. There's nothing wrong with that, but it didn't meet my needs, as you'll see in a few minutes. So as not to disappoint, let's rip through these features quickly. Here's what you get: the transmitter, receiver, both made out of sturdy metal, 5 antennas, an AC adapter, a cold shoe mount adapter, and this USB connector. The back plate can be mounted to either unit. I appreciate that the screws are thumb-type screws and they're made so they don't fall out and get lost. There's also a cord of 20 on the bottom, which is a big plus for both units. As others have said, there's only one pair of the mounting plate and cold shoe adapter, and that's too bad. Be nice to have two plates, but the cold shoe adapter, not a big deal, as I have a bazillion of these lying around and they are really cheap to buy. Both units have an NPF Sony style plate, very common batteries, and I usually use these chunky 970s so I get the most out of whatever I'm using them for. The battery sled has a locking button, which is a really nice feature so it won't fall out, and usually not found on cheaper units. Both have a DC barrel connector, which is great as I can use what's called a D-tap connector and a Pro battery like this and not worry about power. It's threaded, so it's not going to be knocked out. The cables and batteries are not included, which is good, as they are expensive and would shoot the price of the unit way up. But the included DC connector can be used on either unit. This is an HDMI system, which for most people watching this channel, they would have, and it doesn't support SDI. If you know what SDI is and use that, they have higher end models for that. Really great is it's a dual HDMI system. Both transmitter and receiver have SMA antenna connectors, which you attach the included antenna to the units with, and they supplied an extra one just in case. The transmitter has HDMI in, which you would connect from your camera, and an HDMI loop, which means you can connect another HDMI device to that, such as your monitor. Then you have the HDMI signal going through the airwaves to the receiver. The receiver likewise has dual outputs, so you have the incoming signal from the transmitter, which is already being monitored on the camera, and now two HDMI outs on the receiver where you could connect those to another monitor or TV or whatever HDMI device you have. For me, it will be my Pango HDMI unit that I'm going to use for live streams. This is not typical for HDMI systems in this price range. Speaking of range, it claims 300 feet line of sight, and tests on these other videos I've mentioned find it much further than that, almost double. You'll see why, for my purposes, I wanted this when I do the indoor test, because line of sight is great, but when you're doing what I'm doing, you've got multiple walls and floors and wires and all sorts of stuff to interfere with the signal, which is where Nyrius failed me. Actually, I failed me as the Nyrius, or at least the model I bought, is 30 feet line of sight, so I didn't do the math. On the side, you can see you're linked with this light, and a video light is a really nice touch as it gives you a blinking heads up if you're going to lose the signal. Great feature. I also like the upgrade port, which means they can offer firmware updates if there are any problems or new features for the unit, and they include a USB adapter to do that. Lastly, on this side of the unit, we can select what channel the units run on and a button to pair the units up. This system will handle 60 frames per second up to 1920 by 1080 or 1080p, which is, for most people watching this channel, monitoring 4K video, you would need a beast of an HDMI system, which would be very costly with all these features. You plug this into your camera, and whatever signal your camera sends out, that's what you get. As long as it can output 1080p at 60 frames per second or less, which almost every camera on the planet can do nowadays, you're good to go. No, with almost all the HDMI systems, there is a slight latency between the camera and what you see on the monitor. I don't find that all irritating, as a lot of the video monitors I have do the same thing. This may be really important to you, and if so, you're going to need to study up and spend much more money for an SDI type system if your camera supports that. Battery life is about 3 to 5 hours on a Sony NPF battery, and with these 970s I figure it'll be much more, and besides, There's no way I leave a monitor or anything for that matter running all day long without turning it off, so I can easily get a day of shooting. There's no battery indicator I could find, which is kind of a shame, but for that long of runtime, I don't care, and like anything I do, I always start with fresh batteries for the shoot or just use the AC power if available. Now this may not be cheap to you at $499, but when you consider these types of systems can run into thousands of dollars, it's a really good deal if you want something like this and have the cash. As I said, I want something like this as I'm setting up another YouTube channel called Basic Filmmaker Unscripted, and I'll be doing a lot of live casts. I need to be able to move around, such as when I do the completed studio tour coming up soon, I need to be able to grab the camera and keep the stream going. Using the Nyrius, I got everything set up, and as I walked out into this editing area and into the shooting studio, I lost the signal, and well, that was that, which means I spent some coin on something that's not going to really work for me. Okay, I apologize if the video quality or the sound is definitely bad. I'm not miking and running everything. Right now, I just wanted to show you what's happening here. I have my Canon XF 400 sitting over there, and I got the action cam here, set it up to the screen. Now it's obviously transmitting, and what's happening is it's going from that camera right there, and it's transmitting over to this Nyrius unit right there. I'm not sure if you can see that very well. And it goes into the computer, and then it's sitting over here. Now the thing about this unit over here is, if you'll notice, here's the Nyrius system. It's got this little dude here, and then I have it running with an HDMI cable. Let me move this out of the way. Up here and into the camera. Boy, that's hard to see, huh? The problem is you'll notice this little guy down here, right there. It has to be powered. So I have to take this. It's got a USB plug on the end. I actually have to run it up here into this battery bank. You can see the little blinky light to keep that going. It's okay, but it's very clunky. I wish I could just mount a Sony NPF. This is kind of a clunky setup. If I were going to mount this, say, over here on that monitor, this guy over here, which I would definitely do. Sorry, everything's blown out. I would have no problem with this. Now here's the deal. I'm going to hit the start recording over here on OBS. Okay, now it's recording over to a file. Let's grab that camera and take a walk, and I'll show you the problem that I run into with the Nyrius and this 30 feet. It's all on auto. I never shoot like that, but there's going to be a lot of stuff going on, and I don't care right now. So there I am with this, and I'm looking at the camera. There's my drum set. I have to hold on to the battery because it does a bunch of weird stuff. There's some guitars and stuff like that. Over here I have my B-roll table. This is where I shoot B-roll. It's kind of a mess and not set up. Well, let's walk down here. Now I'm down here, and I'm into the studio space. It's got some stuff. Got that light there. Got a light up there. Oh, look at that auto, whatever it is. That's my brick wall. I come back here. That's my camera setup. I got a C-stand running my mic out here. I really hate cords and stuff, as you can tell. There's a light mounted on the wall, another light mounted on the wall over here, and just some various stuff. I bet you this minute I walk over here against this wall, I bet you I'm losing this signal. I have no doubt I'm losing this signal right now because it's not only 30 feet. I'm going through walls, that wall, and everything else, and I'm pretty sure I lost the signal. We're going to come back and check that footage out right now just to see if indeed I lost the signal. It looks like the signal's still there. Let's check out how the Mars 300 works in this place, not line of sight. And I've got some seriously thick walls, wires, signals running all over the place, multiple floors, Wi-Fi signals, you name it, it's happening. Okay, same deal. Everything's on automatic. Sound probably is terrible. I don't care right now. So now I have the Mars 300 up there. I can tell you right now, the thing I really like is coming over here. I can see the thing is active. I can see the video's up. I can see it's linked, which is just absolutely fantastic. Look at this setup. I'm running, you can see that, I'm running the HDMI cable out. It's coming up to here, mounted on the hot shoe. There's the Mars 300, antennas, whatever. There's my battery on the back. Over here I have is just sitting right here, like that. Sorry for the terrible picture. And like that. And it's recording. So let's take this guy for a run. Remember, 300 feet line of sight. This should not die. For my purposes, this should not die between here and the studio. So let's grab that camera and take a little walk and see what we get. Okay, let's do the same routine. Guitars, things, monitor, computer. There's my drum set and amp for stuff like that. Over here we have my B-roll table. Yes, it's all over the place. Everything's on auto. I don't want to mess with it. I come over here into the studio. Same test. I'm looking at various things. There's the camera. There's that light which is shooting onto this back screen. I have my tri-8s, which I love. I have my camera back here. I have my a C-stand there. I boom pull this thing out here. I don't like cords. If you'll notice my floor, there's not a lot of cords and stuff going on. In fact, I've mounted stands and everything else onto these lights. I've covered these before. And I assume that right now we're transmitting. I'm going to go do a little test. Let's grab this thing and just take a little walk. Now, I got this blanket covering this whole studio and lots of walls and stuff. I don't know what's going to happen. Let's find out. So we're going to walk downstairs. This is just a living area. Over here. Sometimes I edit or play around here. What I do is I sit on the couch over here and I have a wireless keyboard and mouse where I do some editing over there. Now we're really stressing this thing out because I'm going outside. I don't know what's going to happen here. Let's go this way. And we're talking serious stress. I am really way far from this thing. Right now I'm going to go out into the garage. Now I'm out in the garage. I am, wow, I am so freaking far from this thing. I don't really think that this thing's going to keep going. I have so many things going on between here and that Mars 300. I just would not even believe that this thing would keep running. I'm probably, as the crows fly, I don't even know if I went through, probably went 300 feet just with all these barriers and everything else. Let's come back. We're going to head back up into the studio. We got all sorts of stuff going on here. Here we are back in the studio, which needs to be cleaned up. Here's where I usually, there's my marks, here's where I usually film my regular YouTube episodes, as you saw during this. Some screens, some junk. Again, B-roll table. Now, I see this thing is still transmitting. I don't know if it cut out. Let's stick this back on here and see what happened, because I don't know. I did record it with this. So let's check it out. Stop the recording. This is out in my garage. There's got to be, I don't know how many feet, I can't measure it. It's got to be 200 feet through all these barriers and floors and walls, and it's obviously It's still recording. I'm seriously impressed. That's really what I need, and I'm seriously impressed with this. Overall, I'm very impressed, and for similar units costing in the thousands of dollars, this very much meets my needs nicely. I've got the links to the Mars 300, the Nyrius, and a ton of other stuff in the description below, including my new YouTube channel, which has absolutely no videos on it yet. Well, maybe by the time you watch this, it will, at least an intro video to the channel. I'd like to thank Hollyland for supplying this unit so I could show it to you and see if it meets your needs too. I hope that helps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. HDMI Mars 300. I don't know how many times I've done that. Wow. It goes that way.